Hey there, welcome to my channel. My name is Becky, and today we are going to do a sketchbook tour. This is my Mermay sketchbook for 2022. There it is. I handled Mermay a little bit differently last year, but we'll get into that when we actually go through the sketchbook. So let's go ahead and head over to the disembodied hands view and see what's in there. So here's a closer look at the sketchbook in question. You can see it has this cute design on the front. We start off and I just listed off the days of the month and what the prompts were. This day was worker, and I first thought of someone like a stripper or something like that, and I just thought that was too funny not to do, so here is my pole dancing mermaid. I really like her hands and her hair. The next day was siren. I know that I had been working on my inking. I was not very good at it. I have gotten better. Glossy, I decided to do some shimmery, shiny inks on here. So I've got some gold ink that I used on her necklace and her fins, and then actually colored in her hair, kind of a blonde color with some highlights on it. Star Wars Day, the 4th is always Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. And Grogu made a perfect little Grogu maid, and he was super cute. The next day was symbiotic, and had a little bit of trouble trying to figure something out, and just thought of a beta fish inside of an aquarium, a little fish bowl with plants, and decided to try and do that with a mermaid in there. I don't like how the mermaid turned out. I think the plants are pretty decent, and the glass bowl is not too bad. Day 6 was doodle. I really like how this turned out. I think the composition is really nice. I liked the idea of the kind of doodles or tattoos on her fin, on her tail here, and then trying out like this cartoony face, which I am not used to doing cartoons. I think it turned out reasonably well. The next day was ghostly. The only thing I could think of is kind of the ghostly wisp when you see like a cartoony ghost. And so I did kind of this wispy tail here, and I was trying to do something ghostly with the hair. I think it just turned out looking messy. As you can see, some days I worked a little bit harder than others, and that was one of the things that I was doing a little bit differently with this month. Was I didn't worry about doing super good drawings as long as I was doing something every day. That was kind of my point, was to try and get drawing every day in practice. And these two are Mother and Sea Life. I like this one better than this one. I didn't put a lot of effort into either of these. I was tired of not putting a lot of effort into them, so the next 2 days I put a little bit more effort and found some references for them. And so I've got Vibe and Superstar, and Vibe was this cute hippie chick. And I liked the effort that I put into her hair and getting some of the anatomy looking more appropriate. And then this is my Thor maid. So I was trying to do Thor here. And I wish I'd spent a little bit more time on the tail, but that is that. Mermaids was the next day. So I just did a child's maze that you'd find on a menu. The next one was cyberpunk, and my first thought was all these cybernetic enhancements that someone could have done to them. So this is supposed to be a metallic tail, a cybernetic tail, and then these are some maybe attachments that she could put on to swim better or faster. You can see here I was looking at different designs for the tail and trying to figure out how to draw them. I kind of wish I'd gone with that one. I think it would have looked more realistic. But I was definitely trying out metal, and I had no experience drawing metal, so it doesn't quite look like it. It looks a little bit more like fabric, but I'm just glad I was pushing myself a little bit to try different things. The next day was cozy, and I tried out a couple of different poses over here before settling on this one where she is just kind of sitting peacefully in her cute little hoodie. And we're back to a couple of days where I didn't spend a lot of effort. So I've got pet and electronic gaming. So I've got my Mercat here. I like the nose and the muzzle, and the eyes are okay. The rest of it is meh. This one I was trying to make it look like you were the mermaid and looking down at your game console. I just didn't know how to do that, and that is what I came up with, and I decided, all right, fine, I'm done, moving on. And you can see that I went back and forth between ones that I did very poorly on and ones that I think I executed much better, because I would get tired of ones that looked bad. And this one I looked up reference. I believe this was maybe from Line of Action, and I really like how this one turned out. I think that the anatomy looks good, and just overall this reads much better to me. I wish I'd gone a little bit darker on some of the shadows and stuff, and I think that this needed to move up just a little bit. The breast needed to move up a little bit, but overall, I'm really happy with this, and I feel like there's even kind of this sad emotion on her face, which I managed to capture in such a small area. So of course, I go back to a couple of days where I didn't work as hard, but it was pirate and octopus. And I know that this one I did use a reference for, but I just didn't like how the pirate was turning out. I do like how her fins here feel like they are limp. I wish I had just kind of chopped maybe that part off, and then it would have felt even more like she had passed out or something like that. Octopus, I was trying hard to turn some of these tentacles up so you could see the suckers underneath, and I didn't really know how to do that and make it look right. So I tried, and it looks okay, but I could definitely do better now. These next two, I decided to try and draw some shapes to, and then the mermaid or the image inside to get the idea across. I couldn't think of anything for diamond other than the shape of a diamond itself. So I drew the shape of a diamond and then drew the mermaid inside. And I do really like the tail. I like how it's very swoopy. And I'm really happy with the turn of the face and being able to see under the chin. I think that overall the structure looks correct. And overall the anatomy actually looks relatively correct. So I'm pretty happy with this one. And then this one, I couldn't really think of anything good for piece because I'd already done the vibe chick, the hippie chick back here. So I didn't want to redo that. So I drew the peace symbol and mermaid swimming by, giving you the peace symbol. I was trying some different tail fins. I don't really like this one that much. I didn't really work too hard on this one, but I do like the simplicity of the face. I think it worked pretty well. The next two were Virtual World and Warrior. So for Virtual World, I was thinking back to when I was a kid and playing little handheld games or video games. Everything was much more pixelated then, so I decided to do something like that. I've got this little mermaid character. She's your main character and is swimming through the ocean and going on little adventures. I, I thought it was cute. I enjoyed doing it. It's not a great drawing, but it was just kind of fun. This is probably one of my favorites from last year. This is Warrior. I definitely used a reference for this. I believe this might have been from Graffiti Studio. And I really like the motion in this one. There's a lot of action in here. And so I really like that I actually doesn't look so static and posed as some of the other ones. And I think the anatomy is pretty decent on this. Overall, I like this. And then the next 2 days I didn't spend as much time on Social Butterfly and Relaxed. And partially this is I didn't spend as much time on, and partially I didn't have references that I was using. And you can see the difference between having a reference and not having a reference. I didn't understand the human anatomy well enough to do it well on my own. I've gotten better, but I'm still not great at it. So definitely references are super useful for me. So this social butterfly is just having a party with her friend. I like how swoopy this one's tail is. I wish I had done a little bit more to exaggerate the top half because she looks a little bit stiff up here, but this tail is nice and swoopy, and I like how these lines come out in a very fluid way. The next day was relaxed. I like the idea of this one. I wish I had taken a little bit further. I like how her tail kind of turns around like this, and you get to see kind of the turn here with this line. And she's just kind of hanging out on a bubble. The next two are Double Ponytail and Fearful. I like Double Ponytail much better. Again, I'm pretty sure I used a reference on this one. I gave up a little bit on the hands, and so I think that this part looks pretty good, and like even into the tail, this is looking pretty good. Overall, pretty happy with this one. This one, not so much. I don't have a whole lot of practice with drawing different emotions on on anything, including the human face and or mermaid face for that matter. So this was my attempt at doing Fearful. She maybe looks surprised. I'm not sure that she looks scared, but and that's that. I do like how these straps turned out. I was trying different tops on my mermaids because I didn't want them all to be naked, and I kind of got tired of doing the same things and looked up some different tops, and I liked this kind of this strap look, and I think it turned out pretty good. I do like these two. This is Ethnic and Comic Book. I know for a fact that I had a reference for this one. I think it's relatively successful. I wish that the proportions were a little bit different. She looks a little bit chopped off. Maybe this should have come down a little bit more, and then the tail been a little bit longer. I do like the overall effect of the face and the hair. If you look at it a little bit closer, it's really not that great, but from a reasonable distance, it gets the point across, and I like it. This one was Comic Book. I remember being very happy with the face and the hair when I did it. I am a little bit less happy now. It's a little bit messy looking, but I was trying that kind of comic book style. I remember finding a reference that looked kind of like this. It had hair like this, and I thought that with the tie in her hair, she looked like Rosie the Riveter. So then I put her in Rosie the Riveter kind of pose. And again, hands were hard for me, so I was having troubles with the hands there. But I like the clothing. I like that there feels like there's some weight to it, and it's kind of bulging out down at the bottom. So overall, reasonably successful. And the last two were Impulsive and Potion. I know I had issues with trying to figure out something impulsive to just draw, and the best I could come up with was someone going and trying to touch a puffer fish. I think the mermaid is subpar. um, I wasn't quite sure, like the pose. The hands are very rudimentary, but I like the cute little cartoony puffer fish. It looks like at one point I was thinking about them kind of reaching down from the top and touching it, and decided to have the mermaid come up from the bottom and grab it. Not super successful, but just trying different things. The last day was potion, and I couldn't think of anything creative, so I just drew a mermaid holding a potion, and looks like they are very closely inspecting that potion. I have no idea what it is or why they have it, but there it is. I think the anatomy is reasonable in this. As you can see, drawing profiles was not my strong suit, but it is what it is. So, as I'm sure you noticed, I didn't spend a lot of time on a lot of the drawings in there. I work full time, and just being and living and doing kind of my normal things takes up a lot of my time. And so I didn't have the time and energy to spend on making full fledged drawings. As I've said before, I am not an artist. I am a software engineer, and I just didn't have the time or energy to spend in it. And when I started Mermay last year, I decided that that was okay. The point of doing the activity was to enjoy myself and to draw every day. And if it was good, awesome. If it wasn't, that was fine too. I just wanted to work on anatomy and things like that, and I think I achieved that. So I hope you enjoyed looking through my sketchbook from last year. And if you did, please leave a like and think about subscribing, and I will see you next week. Bye.